Hey everybody, it's GombletX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing another premiere draft of Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Without further ado, let's get into our Pack 1 Pick 1, where we're going to find out if the new Oko is just as broco as the old one. It's a 4 mana, 3 loyalty planeswalker. At the beginning of combat on your turn, Oko becomes a copy of up to one creature you control, except he has hexproof. Alright, well that's already kind of spooky. You can +1 to draw 2 cards, and then discard a card if you've committed a crime. Otherwise, you draw 2, discard 2. You can -1 to make a 3/3 elk, and you can -5 to make each other non-land permanent you control make a token of every other non-land permanent you control. Okay, well that's a huge ultimate. Yeah, Oko seems pretty nasty. Pack 1, Pick 2, Archmage's Charm is a very strong card, but because of that, it has a very restrictive mana cost. Triple blue is going to be real difficult, even if we end up just being in 2 color. But this is a format with a lot of bombs, so you often do want to splash a little bit. So I think it's going to be really hard to hit triple blue for a card like this. I would honestly rather just take the Giant Beaver. We're definitely trying to be green with Oko, and this is one of the best commons in green. Just super beefy for the mana cost, 4/4 with Vigilance in particular being really nice, and there's plenty of cards that can get value off of this being a mount as well. Speaking of, this is one of my most hated uncommons so far. I'm tired of dying to Miriam. Miriam is completely broken. She's a 2 mana 3/2 with a bunch of extra text. So you get to curve out with an overstated creature for that mana cost, and now every mount you control, this is the important part, is going to get a +1/+1 counter on it every time it attacks. And they'll also just have hexproof during your turn for no reason whatsoever. Miriam is so gross because mounts don't work like vehicles. With mounts, you can just play them as creatures on curve and just attack with them normally. You don't even have to saddle with them for them to get the +1/+1 counters off Miriam. You can just curve out with Miriam and 3 mana 3/3s and 4 mana 4/4s that happen to be mounts, and now your whole board is just getting +1/+1 counters every time it attacks. We're going to take Miriam here, potentially try to go towards green-white mounts, splashing the blue for Oko. However, pick 4 doesn't really give us anything out of green or white. The Bristlepack Sentry actually has been better than most of these kind of cards have been in the past, because there are just so many beefy green creatures at common. So Sentry would be fine if we just want to stick to green. I might actually do that, because I do like Phantom Interference, but I don't think it works well for a green-blue deck. It can be fine, though, in like blue-red and blue-white is where I like it. Same with like the Canyon Crab. Green is just always going to be casting stuff during our own turn, so it's not going to hit those synergies. Let's grab the Bristlepack Sentry. Pick 5, Frontier Seeker is a fantastic card for a mount deck. A 2 mana 2/1 that draws you a land or a mount out of the top 5. Just excellent flexible card draw. We only have 1 mount right now, but with Miriam, we want to pick up a lot of them. I'm going to take this Frontier Seeker, the other option being Cactarantula, another card we're really happy to see this late. I mean, it is only pick 5, but this card is quite nice. It's pretty easy to control a desert. All of the common dual lands in the format are deserts, and they're decently high picks. So 5 mana 6/5 reach that draws you a card if it ever gets targeted. Pretty nice as well. Alright, pick 6, no mounts here. No green cards either. I mean, there is a red mount with the Quilled Charger, but it's pretty filler. Honestly, everything in this pack is pretty filler. I think the best cards are the Outlaw Medic and the Vengeful Townsfolk. Go ahead and take the Outlaw Medic here. Just like that it replaces itself when it dies. Gains you some life as well to prolong the game a bit. Pick 7, we've got Throw from the Saddle. This is really nice removal. It's decent in general for how cheap it is for any green deck, but it's really good when you're using it on a mount because you get a permanent +1/+1 counter while killing one of your opponent's best threats. So huge pickup there. Pick 8, there we go. There's another mount, Drover Grizzly, and it is particularly nasty with Miriam. Attack with this, and the first time it attacks, it's a 5/3 with Miriam on board. Super gross. It's also really, really nasty with Throw from the Saddle. Get to deal 5 damage to any target. I am passing up on a blue-white desert for this Grizzly. That's slightly awkward with Oko here. I do really want to cut people off green, though, early in the draft. It's probably supposed to be the desert, but I'm going to take the mount here. Pick 9, another Bristlepack Sentry is fine. A Sterling Supplier is fine. We've got... We actually have 4 2-mana creatures already, so I think I can pass up on the second Bristlepack Sentry. Let's get a 5-drop flyer. Here's another mount, Bridled Bighorn, perfectly fine one at 4 mana. Slightly smaller than the Giant Beaver, a 3/4 Vigilance instead of a 4/4 Vigilance, but it can spit on an army with that saddle ability. I'm not going to play a Death Touch Snake. I'm not going to play Oasis Gardener. I really want to try to focus on lands for the fixing ideally, because the 3-mana 2/2 is just not good. So I'll take this Rise of the Varmints. This is good for like green-black self-mill stuff. It's definitely going to be less good in green-white, but if we end up with like 17 plus creatures, it could still be decent in the late game. Getting a 2/1 for each creature in our grave can be massive. It will probably get cut, but so will the other options there. Boom! Congregation Griff, but boom! Ornery Tumblewag, but boom! Beastbond Outcaster. That's unfortunate, because we're only going to get one of these cards, but we kind of have to take the Ornery Tumblewag. It is a mount to work with Miriam and throw from the saddle and any other synergies, and it's a bomb rare, just self-contains all by itself. Putting a +1/+1 counter on the board every turn, and every time it attacks, it's doubling the +1/+1 counters we have on one of our cards. If we saddled it. Just a dumb magic card, but so is the Congregation Griff. Again, similar to Miriam, what makes this card so dumb is that, like, you're just naturally going to be playing a lot of mounts in this color pair, because just when you're curving out with your creatures, you're playing a ton of mounts, so this thing attacks as like a 3-power lifelinker a lot, massively high toughness, super hard to outrace, and then the Outcaster is just excellent card draw. But Tumblewag, definitely the most explosive of those cards. Now I'm super happy to take a Stubborn Burrow Fiend. 2-mana 2/2 mount is already good, but it can also be very big with the self-mill. Buffing up for all the creatures in your grave, and it works with our Rise of the Varmints, so that makes that a little bit more playable. Very cool card. Taking it primarily over the green-white dual land being the next best card for us. Third best, probably Tumbleweed Rising, which has been a pretty big overperformer just because of how big Green's creatures get really easily in this set. Pick 3, Steer Clear is good in a mount deck. 1 mana for 4 damage to an attacker or blocker is pretty good. Alternatively, we can try to splash in more stuff with Gem Lightfoot or Make Your Own Luck, but I'm already not doing very well at picking up fixing for the 1 blue splash, so I'm not going to take more. I'll just grab the Steer Clear. Pick 4 now, we get a Mystical Tether, that's quite nice. Really don't like the Silver Deputy. It's really slow fixing, putting the land on top of your deck instead of in your hand or on the board or anything. And Tether's really efficient removal. Pick 5. Commando would be fine. A Pixie would be fine. Maybe a second Rise of the Varmints if we manage to get more Burrow Fiends could be okay. Conduit Pylons. I guess our mana base is easy enough right now. We don't have any double green or any double white, so we probably don't get hit that hard that often for running a colorless source. And then, you know, when we do draw into the Oko, the fact that we can filter this into blue is nice. A 5-mana Oko is still an Oko. I guess I will take the Conduit Pylons here. But I don't really recommend this super high. Definitely nowhere near as high as the dual land deserts. Pick 6, no mounts here, but we could take another Steer Clear. We could also take a great top-end finisher with Stagecoach Security, or this Mobile Homestead works pretty well with mounts. You get to haste this out and start tossing some lands on board. Works well with Miriam as well. I'll take the Homestead. Maybe get some free ramp off that thing could be cool. I do think Cactarantula is quite good, and Bounding Felidar hits solid synergies as a finisher, but Mirage Mesa is excellent fixing towards the Oko, because it's fixing that is also going to help our 2 main colors. Like if we have a 2-lander and it's like a Plains, a bunch of green cards and a Mirage Mesa, well then this can still help fix our main colors if we need to. But if we draw it any time later and we already have our first 2 colors, then boom, that's our blue source. So I think Mirage Mesa is much better fixing than Conduit Pylons, and I will take it highly accordingly. Now we get a Tumbleweed Rising. Now we get a Vengeful Townsfolk. I could run a gold pan for the treasure token, then a little equipment to sit around, but we could use another 3-mana creature. Only got 2 right now. Pretty fine with that. Well, I guess I'll take the Oasis Gardener, but I'd really like to cut that in the end. I'll run the Nurturing Pixie for now. Probably gets cut in the end as well. I don't think it's very good unless you have some good enter the battlefield effects. 1 mana, 1/1 flyer is just not quite worth it nowadays. You just have to have a good enter the battlefield effect to recur with that thing. Well, this card's like really nasty, right? Bristly Bill, Spine Sower, 2 mana, 2/2, and every time you play a land, you put a +1/+1 counter on a creature. That's already excellent. And if you make it to 5 mana, you get to start doubling those +1/+1 counters. Yeah, Bill's pretty dumb. Nice to open up the on-color Mythic. We'll slam dunk it into the deck, and we get past the Mount Rare Seraphic Steed. A 2 mana, 2/2 first strike lifelink, already nasty. If we have a Miriam on board or a Throw from the Saddle in hand, we're making this thing a 3/3 first strike lifelink, even more gross. And if you can saddle it and start spitting out angels, that's also filthy. So a very, very good card and an excellent addition to this deck. Pack 3, pick 3. I do like the Stable Master giving us double mana towards mounts. That's very cool. But we are at 15 creatures here. We might want to just take more removal like Journey to Nowhere. Currently we're on Throw from the Saddle, Mystical Tether, Steer Clear. I would not mind a 4th removal spell at all. I think I'm going to grab it. I'm going to take the Journey to Nowhere here. It often just plays like a 2 mana version of Mystical Tether because usually you're just exiling a creature with that card anyway. So let's grab the Journey to Nowhere. Oh, this is a hard choice. Wow, we are really getting paid off here. So we could take another Mirage Mesa towards the Oko. That is tempting, but we have really good mounts. There's the 2 mana Trained Erranx, gets first strike. It's super hard to block a 3-power first striker. There's the Rambling Possum, turns into a 4/5 when you're saddling it, but it's also just a 3 mana 3/3 on curve to keep getting counters on. There's the Drover Grizzly for the big 4/2. This is such a good pack. I think I kind of want to take the Possum maybe. But the Erranx is so good at just 2 mana too. I'm going to go for the Erranx over the Possum, but it's very close. And I'm going to take one of those over the Fixing. Pick 5 looks like a good choice to take the 2-drop over the 3-drop because now we are locked in to taking a 3-drop. Congregation Gryff is beautiful for this kind of deck. Massive flying lifelink attacker with all the other mounts you've got lying around. I mean, we're honestly getting to the point where this deck is more than explosive enough without splashing at all, so we could just run a very consistent mana base and just cut the Oko and still be a bomby deck. Because we have Steed, Miriam is a bomb, even though she's just an uncommon. Bristly Bill is certainly a bomb. Tumblewag is certainly a bomb. Yeah, I think we're more than explosive enough to just go for, I'm going to rare draft Scape Shift. To just go for 2-color. We don't need to splash another bomb in here. We are perfectly explosive, and the more consistent we are on curve, the quicker we can end people with some really aggressive blowouts of mana curves. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to drop the blue. Drop the Oko. Just be green-white. There's a Take Up the Shield for an excellent combat trick. I don't think I'm going to end up doing the Rise of the Varmints finisher kind of thing. Nurturing Pixie's probably the most mediocre card left in the deck. Betrayal at the Vault's super expensive. 16 creatures, 7 on creatures, one of which is a vehicle. I think this is like the deck. I just kind of built it already. Naturalist is pretty fine. Drover Grizzly's really nice, though. We can cut one of the more mediocre 2 or 3 mana creatures for that before we call it a deck. We might play a second Sterling Supplier. I don't know. I think I'd only do that if I end up cutting the Paladin. I think I only want 2 of these 5-drops. All right, so we have 42 cards right now. We could cut our two most mediocre cards pretty much anywhere on curve. I could cut one of like the 5-drops to get lower on curve and then like drop land at that point as the 2 cuts. Yeah, like drop a 5-drop and a land, or drop a couple mediocre 2-drops or a 2 and a 3 or something, I think is where we want to be. I kind of do like having some big beef at the top end, 5-4 trample, big flyer, buffing up the board. Yeah, I think I'm going to lower some of the cheaper cards on curve. So all of our 3-drops are mounts except for the townsfolk, so I think that would be the 3-drop we want to cut, if that's what we want to do. And then maybe the Tumbleweed Rising, although I did just keep some higher power creatures, and the Tumbleweed Rising is pretty decent with the double Drover Grizzly as well. Yeah, no, maybe keep that as another creature. That could be fun. Maybe the Homestead. I don't know. A Townsfolk I'm just going to insta-cut, but these are like maybes. Maybe Tumbleweed Rising, maybe Homestead. One of our non-creature creatures. And then 2-drops. See, this is excellent synergy. We're pretty aggressive, so Outlaw Medic's not as good in aggressive decks. We also don't care about the fact that it's an outlaw at all. I don't actually love the Outlaw Medic. We'll add that to the pile of potential cuts. I've got a decent amount of 4-power creatures for pretty cheap, thanks to the, again, double Drover Grizzly, as well as some +1/+1 counter stuff running around with Miriam and Throw from the Saddle and Take Up the Shield. So I don't think Bristlepack Sentry is bad in here either, but looking at the rest of our 2-drops, where it's a card that pulls out a mount, a bomb rare, a mount, a buffer for all the mounts, a mount and a bomb rare, none of these other 2-drops are cuttable at the slightest. So these are the 2-2-drops. Well, these are the 4 2-drops we could cut. The Homestead, the Tumbleweed Rising, the Outlaw Medic, or the Bristlepack Sentry. Again, I think with random +1/+1 counter shenanigans between Ornery Tumblewag, Throw from the Saddle, Take Up the Shield, Miriam, even Congregation Griff, like giving itself the buff, I think the random higher power synergy stuff could work out fine. So I kind of like the Sentry, I kind of like the Tumbleweed Rising. I think I'm going to cut the Outlaw Medic super weirdly, keep the Homestead and everything. Just be full on mounts.deck. We will call it a deck here. All right, here's like the final deck list for today, and it's a very standard, very simple one. This is the poster child for just green-white mounts the deck. We have like all of the synergy pieces at common and uncommon. We have like all the good rares for the strategy as well. So this will be a super, super simple one. The deck idea here is to just curve out with a bunch of different mounts and get bonuses from either their saddle abilities, like, you know, giving our whole board trample when this is saddled, letting the Erranx get in even against some larger blockers thanks to its first strike, all that basic saddling stuff going on, but also get some major bonuses for having drafted so many mounts. With Miriam, all of our mounts get a +1/+1 counter every time they attack, even if we haven't saddled them up. With Congregation Griff, we can get massive lifelink attacks in the sky. And with Frontier Seeker, we've turned this into a really good card draw spell, digging for our best mount or planes out of the top 5 cards of our deck. So really, really solid, really consistent stuff here. We've even got tons of bombs. The Ornery Tumblewag is putting +1/+1 counters all over the board and doubling them up later. The Seraphic Steed is spitting out angel tokens or just being a ridiculously efficient first striking lifelinker. The Bristly Bill's putting +1/+1 counters on the board for free. We just have to play lands to get counters on board. This is a super gross, super powerful deck, and I'm very excited to see how it does as we head into the gameplay. All right, here we are on the draw for game 1 with an excellent curve no matter how we play it. We can go Erranx into Grizzly, or we could go Sentry into Grizzly. I think with a Throw from the Saddle in hand, I'm just going to start with the Erranx so that we do have the option of throwing from the saddle turn 3 and getting a permanent +1/+1 counter if we want it. Our opponent is Rakdos, and they've started with a plotted Demonic Ruckus. So as soon as they play any creature, they can give that +1/+1 Menace Trample, and if we kill that creature, they draw a card. Here comes a Rakish Crew, get a 1/1 Mercenary token, and whenever their outlaws die, they drain us for a life, and that is an outlaw. Alright, well, we will have to saddle up the Erranks here, but that is easy enough to do, because I'm not going to throw removal at a mercenary token this early. Let's get the first strike attack in and scry 1. Keeping the giant beaver, that is the perfect turn for play. We always have the alternative of playing the Bristlepack Sentry and casting Throw from the Saddle if they play a good creature here to kill. That does not look to be the case. Let's just drop the gigantic beaver down. First strike on in. Scry again. Keep that Frontier Seeker. 2 mana, 2/1, plus another card. Really nice 2-for-1 play. It's a Corrupted Conviction. Nice. They get to draw 2 cards off of their mercenary and stop the damage this turn. Plus they get the Rakish Crew Drain. At knife points, they're trying to just double up all the synergy uncommons. So every time they commit a crime, they get a mercenary as well. Well, I'm pretty happy to just have a super aggressive board here. I'm just going to try to keep the pressure on and kill them before they pop off with these things. Before they start spitting out a million tokens to block with and drain us with or anything. Just go full speed ahead, all damage straight to the face, and this game as quick as possible. Alright, well... Could Frontier Seeker pre-combat to saddle up, but saddling doesn't give me any extra damage here, just gives me a scry. Rooftop Assassin on blocks. Trade into the Erranks. Alright. It does keep them alive, barely. Let's see what Frontier Seeker finds. Oh my god, that is sick. Kind of want to take the Steed, but I honestly, Bighorn for the 4-drop seems decent too. I'm going to take the Steed. They don't board wipe us, they're so monumentally dead to all this. And I don't remember any board wipes in Rakdos, but I'm also not super familiar with the cards yet. Okay. Well, I'm going to saddle up just in case. Get another creature off this attack. Even if they get to fog all of the damage or something. Okay, they can blow up the Steed, get 2 chump blocking mercenaries. I mean, the trample is still lethal though. Because they don't gain the life until after damage is dealt. Yep. Even if they did, they would still be just at 0 there. Alright, well. Kind of a weird game. They just played some of the dirty uncommons that didn't manage to give them too much board presence against just a bunch of high power stuff of our own, so simple stuff to start it off. We are 1-0 heading into game 2. Here we are for game 2 on the draw. We've got a turn 2 Steed. It'll be a while before we actually saddle that thing up. But it is still a great card. We could haste in a Homestead turn 3 and try to draw some lands. Ooh, now I could Frontier Seeker instead. Is interesting to me. Saddle 4 for the Steed. It's gonna be a while regardless. I could Homestead into Frontier Seeker if it's gonna be a while for the Steed anyway. Yeah, that seems fine. That way I get to attack with the Homestead next turn without playing him out. Keep that Seraphic Steed out of reach of any of their burn spells. Try to get them to cash those in on weaker creatures first, like the homestead itself. Duelist is coming on in. We're down to 19, and they're just going to plot a card. So we do get a homestead attack no matter what. So let's Frontier Seeker. I'll take a mount over anything else, I think. If I get a Plains, I can get the steer clear, but oh, yeah, I'll definitely take the Tumblewag. Even if there was a Plains on top. Awesome, and we got to land off the homestead, so we are ramping over here. We are just speeding this hand out now. What was their plotted card? Oh, the giant scary Stingerback Terror. That could be a slight issue, but with Tumblewag we can definitely compete in terms of power and toughness over time. This can be a 7/7 flying trample at largest. We're probably just going to double rare them next turn. Drop the Tumblewag and the Steed. Terror's just a 3/3 though, so if it's going to stay small enough to kill the steer clear, I'll probably hold the mana up for that. Yeah. So I guess I drop the Tumblewag and hold up the steer clear mana when I move to combat. But we'll probably post-combat play the Steed if we get to that point. Screw this up. Put a counter on the Frontier Seeker and attack with 2 3-power creatures. Holding up a steer clear when they try to do some kind of trick. Oh, do they have explosive derailment? That would be super nasty here. They might have explosive derailment that they're trying to go for. Oh, they don't have 5 mana yet, though. Alright, explosive derailment wouldn't be the worst. It's just 4 damage to a target. Oh, they have repulse. Bounce the Frontier Seeker back to our hand. Well, it's got a good edge of the battlefield effect, so that's not the worst. Alright. Well, I can play it and put the giant beaver in my hand. Or I could just play the Steed. Let's just play the Steed. If they had a way to kill something, they probably would have killed the Tumblewag. And now they have 2 must-kill threats on our board. We know we can play the 4-power creature for the Steed next turn off of the giant beaver. Just immediately saddle up a gigantic beaver riding on the flying unicorn. Spitting out angels on the way. Magic the Gathering is a comedy card game, actually. Outlaw Stitcher, as the only spell per turn, is a 1/4 and a 3/3? Nope, 1/4 and a 2/2. Okay, so it's for each other spell you've cast that it gets a +1/+1 counter. Trying to race, sending in the Stingerback Terror. So 4/4 flyer should really help them be much less able to race. So we play the beaver. We crew the homestead with the Tumblewag. We saddle the Steed with the beaver. And hold up the steer clear as a trick to keep the Steed alive. This should be phenomenal. We're drawing into removal next turn with a throw from the saddle. Oh, we're just going to bounce off each other? That is super fine. I guess they actually don't have a way to threaten to kill the Steed if it's just a 3/3 first striker. That does look pretty excellent. I'm going back up to 16 life, so I don't even think I need to hold up steer clear on the defensive. So I can use it to save my homestead or I can just play Frontier Seeker. If I play Frontier Seeker, though, I'm not going to draw into the throw from the saddle, so sure, let's kill both of these and keep the homestead around. We're down to 13 now. They're going to pass the turn. All right. If I do try to use removal, I can attack for lethal this turn. But they have so much mana up, it's probably safer to just jam more creatures out post-combat, so... With this much open mana from blue-red, if I try to throw from the saddle, they're probably holding up an instant speed removal spell, and now they get to not only kill whatever I'm throwing with, but they get to also stop the throw at the same time. So it's just, like, really bad for me if it does not resolve. And I'm just going to send everybody in for damage at this point rather than making another angel. Cash in an extra 4 damage heading to their face instead of spin down another angel. Get in there, everybody. Hey, we got a land again. Explosive Derailment. There it is. Very, very nice card here. Take 8 or they chump block. Chump block it is. Take 4, go to 7. We're still in a really good position even if they board wipe us thanks to this Frontier Seeker. Still have more stuff in hand, so let's just get that wide board state, make it super hard for them to survive another swing. Alright, there's the concession from our opponent. We get to start things off 2-0 with just some nasty work done with some of our rare mounts this game. Here we are now for game 3, and we've got some mana issues. We are on the draw again. We can drop a Homestead, wait for the green source for Grizzly. If I hit a green source in the top 3 cards of the deck, the hand's pretty good. Attack with that Homestead turn 3, and I've got a Tether at the ready. But we do need specifically green, which is awkward. I mean, any land gets us Homestead into Tether. Not that the Homestead attacks by itself. I think I'm still going to keep this on the draw. I think I would just 100% mulligan on the play, but I'm going to take the gamble when we have the first draw step of the game. Our opponent has an aggressive start. Roll out with a 1-mana 2/2 into the 2-mana 1/2 flyer that's going to keep draining us for life as they commit crimes. Uh-oh. Aggressive start into no green source yet from us for our first 2 draws. Okay, well, I've got 2 removal spells. That is something. Tether exiles an artifact or creature. That's honestly not much more flexible than Journey to Nowhere, so I'm just going to go for the Tether over the Journey so we have the cheaper removal available later. So if I find a green source, I can cast like a Grizzly and a Journey to Nowhere at the same turn, on turn 5 or something. Phantom Interference? Sure, that's not that bad. Just stopping me from killing a 2/2. Doesn't mean they're stuck on mana as well, though. Yeah, they're stuck on 2 mana. Oh, no. Well, I've got the 2 mana to pay for another Tether if they've got it. I think I need to kill the Miner over the Raven. Because if they keep missing land drops, Raven's just 1 damage a turn, but Miner's just 2 a turn, period. Razzle Dazzler. If they can cast 2 spells in 1 turn, I would be very impressed. There's the green source. It is late. but it has arrived. Think I'm gonna paladin it up for a bit of life gain. Although I will take 1 extra damage here. I'm fine with crewing and taking one more point. Beautiful. That makes up for the slow start. Homestead immediately finding a land. Now we are way ahead on mana, even if it took a while to find the green source. Got a big 3/4 flying blocker to stop the Raven. We could also just shoot it with throw from the saddle if I want to go Grizzly plus throw. If we find another green source. I would ideally like to have a mount on board before I cast the throw, though, so we can get a permanent +1/+1 counter. There's a Vault Plunder. That's definitely going to help our opponent get out of the mana screw. Draw another card. Pretty good. We are down to 11. There's the next green source, so I can play a mount plus throw. I don't know that I want to cash in the throw right now, though. Because now that they're hitting more mana, there's a lot of bombs in the format I might have to kill later. Although with the amount of power toughness we're about to put on the board here, could be a pretty quick race if we just go for full damage. You know what? I'm just going to go full speed ahead, max damage at this point. Try to kill them before they stabilize too hard. By doing this, put them to 7 life. Find Bristly Bill. I can cast him and Grizzly in the same turn. I think I keep him. But I am out of lands for him. I mean, he can crew the Homestead, and if the Homestead hits a land, he's really good. All right. Absolutely racing here. How does the Grizzly work? It has to attack while saddled. Yeah, so we can't give trample next turn. Oh, I'll just gain that life, sure. They don't have the mana up for a counter here, so I'll just regain the life. Happily. Yay, regain the life. And they're just going to scoop them up. They do not enjoy that enter the battlefield trigger, and we are now 3-0 heading into game number 4. 50-50 win rate at the worst feels pretty good, but as I said, when we finish the draft here, I think this deck is pretty insane, so I would have been surprised to get less than 3 wins. So, see how far it goes as we head into game 4. All right, here we are on the play for game number 4. I don't know if this is our first game on the play, but it's one of the first ones. Pretty down with that. This hand is wild, because we've got Bristly Bill in the opener. Oh my god, we have Bristly Bill and Miriam. I don't have any mounts for Miriam. I kind of like Bristlepack Sentry into Bill land drop to immediately get value off of Bill, even if they have cheap removal, and also to have just a 4/4 Sentry, so I don't have to ever worry about having a creature with power 4 or greater for it. Yeah, this seems kind of gross, right? I should have played my lands differently, though, actually. I could have had the white source up this turn. So now if they do have the cheap removal for Bristly Bill, we've got a 4/4 attacking Bristlepack Sentry anyway. And they've got the removal for Bill, but now they had to throw it at our Sentry. That feels pretty nice. And they just drop a Rakish Crew. That is fine by me. So we can play Miriam and Mobile Homestead. It's not going to have haste, but we can get it all out here. I think I juice up Miriam. I think I would rather they kill Miriam than Bill. With no other mounts in hand. I mean, we've got the vehicle, but still. Bill making every top deck relevant, even if it's just a land, is nice, and we're almost at enough mana to start doubling counters if we run out of plays. And then we just start putting counters on stuff. 5 mana for 1 counter initially, but then next time we do it, 5 mana for 2 counters, next time 5 mana for 4 counters, so on. That's pretty suspicious. I don't remember any cards that trigger specifically if they've dealt damage to me this turn in this format. Okay, yeah, they're just gonna Lawbringer and kill Miriam, probably. They're just getting their extra damage out. They're gonna kill Bill. Alright, let's go. That makes me feel even better about my +1/+1 counter placement. They were still gonna go for killing Bill when he's just a 2/2. I should play my land first so I have Tether up, just in case. Some absolute nonsense, but it would have to be wild to need to tether. What is this gonna be? Just Corrupted Conviction? Yeah, that's fine. Alright. Stop the damage, draw some cards. Seems decent. Mourner's Surprise. Wow, alright, that's pretty good. May sack another creature to destroy a non-land permanent. Only another creature, so I can tether in response, and then they can't destroy something. They don't have another creature on board anymore. There's the throw from the saddle. I don't think that's necessary. I'd rather save that. Dang, Bill would have been popping off. Mobile Homestead is finding that mana. Uh-oh. Whenever one or more tokens on the battlefield under your opponent's control get a tapped copy. When artifacts enter theirs, they drain us for life? Okay, so they're just draining us for life. That's it. Servant of the Stinger. Death Toucher. Alright, here's Frontier Seeker to find a mount. Big draw. Perfect. There's the Grizzly so that I can cast the Grizzly and have Steer Clear for 4 damage up so we can kill the Death Toucher. Send in both and kill the Death Toucher. Beautiful turn. They're down to 12. We pass from there. They're just going to hold up their blocks here. Play it real defensive. Well, I think I'm going to clear out one of the blockers then, since I do have hexproof for this throw from the saddle. Yeah, let's get that hexproof shot in. They would need double removal here. They have to kill Miriam and kill Grizzly. Alright, that looks good. I do this, and then I also don't really want Miriam to die, so I'm going to saddle Grizzly with Miriam for trample for the turn, and then attack with lethal power toughness because they're both going to get the counter. It won't be lethal if they chump block 2 of this damage, but it will force them to chump block 2 of this damage. I could have went for lethal instead, but 3 cards in hand, all open mana from our opponent, we would not be finding lethal here. Yeah, so pretty happy to play it safe then and make sure Miriam's going to survive. 2/2 flying lifelinker is going to be annoying to race, but our homestead's like an 8/8 on its next attack, so we can still do it. Although, I mean, if they just keep getting chump blockers, they keep draining us for life. And there they go. Wow, the Mourner's Surprise draw with the Lawbringer engrave is incredible here. They kill Miriam and I cannot crew. All right. Playing off the top and just hitting the land is going to be a death sentence. They attack for 5, go back up to 8, and one more swing and we're dead. Sterling Supplier is not enough. We're at 4 life. We can force the Servant of the Stinger to chump, but then I have no blockers up, so I can't make that play, because I would have to crew the homestead. If I cast the Sterling Supplier and pass the turn, they can just attack in with everybody. I block the biggest creature, being the Lawbringer, and then they drain me for life since it died. Since assassins are outlaws, we are just straight dead. Just a little too much mana. Needed a tiny bit more action there, but didn't quite get there. We are 3-1 heading into game 5. All right, here we are for game 5 on the play. We've got that turn 2 Miriam, turn 3 Homestead. Probably better to do it the other way around because we always want to attack with stuff that Miriam's going to put counters on. So play the Homestead, then attack with it on turn 3 with Miriam crewing it. Since Miriam does not give the Homestead haste. Only mounts do that. Playing against Rakdos, they got the turn 2 Desperate Bloodseeker, got some lifelink going. It's going to be kind of annoying to race. They choose to mill us, which is interesting. Because usually there's like some graveyard recursion to go with that card out of black. Get in there, Homestead. Swing in for 4. And we get the land. Beautiful. There's that lifelink coming in. They're back up to 18. Then Laughing Jasper Flint. We need to kill this card if we can, and we cannot. Beginning of your upkeep, exile the top X cards of your library where X is the number of outlaws you control. And they can cast our cards against us. My god, that is disgusting. They only have 1 outlaw, so they're only going to draw 1 card out of our deck every turn, but 3 mana, 4/3, draw a card from your opponent's deck every turn. That's pretty gross. Alright, Homestead is crew 2. So if I want to attack with Miriam and the Homestead, which I really want to do with Take Up the Shield in hand, I have to play Sentry to crew it. So we really want to get this Laughing Jasper killed, and the only way is to get it to block. Maybe attacking with Miriam convinces it to block. Otherwise, they take 8, and I get to keep my best threat. Alright, they take 8, and I get to keep my best threat. Here's Congregation Griff. Try to just outrace Laughing Jasper before they cast too much stuff from our deck. So. It is nice we got to see the 5-drop, so we know that they can't even cast it, at least. Their first Laughing Jasper card. Because it is till end of turn, right? Yeah, until end of turn they can cast our card against us. Let's bounce our lifelink off of each other. Skullduggery? Well, that card is real efficient. But that's their 1 black source. But they've got a 2-drop red card. Well, That could not have gone worse. Journey to Nowhere. There we go. That is beautiful. So, I'm still on team take up the shield right now, though, aren't I? Well, no, I don't have to take up the shield if I crew Homestead with Miriam instead. And I guess I can do both, since I can't afford the giant beaver alongside one of these. So it is... I think it's still just do it this way. And then hold up to take up the shield. Alright, can they get 13 damage into our face here? If not, they're going to have to hold up some blockers. There's a Reckless Lackey. It's 11 damage if they have the Outlaws thing. The +2/+0 to everybody. Well, here it comes. 11 is not 13, though. Alright, so just the Bloodseeker. We're down to 11, they're up to 6, and a Prickly Pear. Wow, if they have the +2/+0 to everybody, they're kind of going to get us here. I guess I can take up the shield to Homestead as the play. Yeah, we definitely don't kill them on this attack, so I guess let's just make sure Miriam is safe, and then we take up the shield to Homestead. To gain enough life to keep them from surprise killing us. Ooh, Mystical Tether. Next turn. Alright. They attack with everybody and they have +2/+0 to everyone. I block there. I take 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I guess I could take up the shield next turn on blocks if they have that and still survive. That's probably a little better. Because then they tap out for it. They attack with everybody, they tap out for it, and then they die on the crackback. Whereas if I take up the shield right now, they know that they don't have lethal, so they can hold up blockers and take longer to die. Okay, this doesn't look like the outlaw thing. They're not attacking with everyone separately. Alright, so it is something else. Where take up the shield is going to play better on blocks. Sure. Boom. Excellent. And there's the concession from our opponent. We are now 4-1. We are at a positive record here, but we'll see how far it goes. Hopefully, all the way to 7 wins. I'm going to be a little greedy on this deck. Because again, I think it's sweet, but we'll see. You never know. We are heading into game number 6. Alright, here we are on the play for game number 6. This is an awkward hand, a 2-lander that's monocolored, but I think with such a strong Bristly Bill into Drover Grizzly start, we still just keep it. I think the potential downside of not finding a white source is worth the potential upside of it being pretty unbeatable if we do. Okay, well, here we go. It's Bristly Bill time. Oh, this is the +1/+1 shoot something? No, it's Patient Naturalist. Oh, they're juicing up the Burrow Fiend? Yeah, there's one creature. Now they saddle it up. They need 2 more creatures to get a good attack in with it, though. Otherwise, I can block and trade. Let's see, it only mills 2 cards, so if it isn't creature, I still trade into it on blocks. And it is land and non-creature. So we can clear it out if we want, but with Take Up the Shield in the hand, if we find a white source and another lifelinker, I think we can really outrace. There we go. So let's get a counter on the Grizzly and send in for a ton. Then I think I want to drop the Vigilant threat over the slightly bigger Grizzly or the flying threat of the Congregation Griff. And this could lead into either one of these, plus Take Up the Shield if we hit another land next turn, which would be very good. Alright, that's a very wide board state. It is going to be hard to find lethal here. But there's the 5th land. We are drawing straight gas. Off the Bighorn and drop the Griff to saddle the Grizzly for trample and just send in the team. Yeah, they're already over it. I think trampling the team is going to be really close to lethal, right? So we play the Griff, give everybody trample off of Grizzly, and we're attacking for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 power. So 12 minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're not going to die, but they're going to get trampled over for a ton, and we're going to take up the shield wherever we save our best creature. So that was going to be a really good turn for us, and they are already super over it. We are now 5-1 in the money here as we head into round 7. Here we are for game number 7. This is a really slow hand and we're on the draw, but it does stop their first threat. So if I get another cheap creature, we can stop the second. I don't know, it's got all our colors and it's got some pretty efficient spells with Journey and Throw. And then it has great late game with Beaver and 2 suppliers, so we'll see how it pans out. This might not work well for us though if they're relatively aggressive, and it's a mirror match, and green-white can be real aggressive with the mounts. But looks like we're fine for now. They just play this Entertainer thing. Could immediately exile it. I think I can just take 2 a turn from that. I mean, if they play off curve, they can keep putting counters on their board. So if they play another 2-mana 2/2 this turn, instead of a 3-drop, uh-oh. Yeah. That looks like just killing that thing would have been decent. But I can still just tether the Erranks and keep the 2-mana removal for later. Could cast 2 2-mana removal spells on turn 5 if we really need, but we just play a Beaver next turn. Tumbleweed Rising, make a 3/3. Alright, well that's not the best Tumbleweed Rising I've ever seen. Pretty okay with that. And here we go. There's the giant Beaver. There's a Wanted Griffin. Giant Beaver looking real good, as does the Sterling Supplier. 3/4 flyer looking sweet. If I throw from the saddle and Journey to Nowhere, we get a ton of damage in and they have no good blocks, but I have no removal left. I don't mind journeying this Griffin though, so it doesn't get its death trigger. I guess I could still just like supplier this turn and not attack, and then, you know, if I journey to Nowhere the Griffin, maybe the Beaver gets to... Or if I throw from the saddle something, then the Beaver gets to attack in, because it gets another counter. We'll see. Well, that was a really good Entertainer turn. I really should have just journeyed to Nowhere the Entertainer turn too. That would have played a lot better. Unfortunate. Yeah, these are quite a lot of blocks they've got set up. I can play 3 2-mana spells this turn, so let's see what Frontier Seeker hits and if that changes what we want to do at all. Bighorn, I don't think that changes things. I think we still want to cast double removal. Just go to town. Yeah, I mean, if I throw from the saddle the Tycoon and I journey to Nowhere the Griffin, they have 5 toughness on the ground against a 6 power creature. Yeah, that looks more than good enough to me. Can't saddle it up. The Beaver needs 3 power to saddle. Alright, they got 2 cards left, one of which is removal for the supplier. And the last one, we don't know yet. Alright. They have 7 power here. They can kill the beaver. But I buff the bighorn and kill their entertainer and their elemental. This still feels like a worthwhile attack. I mean, I guess I can just saddle with both of these, but I'm only going to saddle with the bighorn. I'll keep more toughness up for blocks, just in case. Because I only get to put a counter on one creature that saddled it. I could just choose out of all the creatures that I saddled. Which one? Alright, that's how I want to order it. Cool. 1 card in hand. We've got the better board state, but it's kind of a top deck war here. There's a hard bristle bandit. That does not do much right now. This one saddles for only 2, right? Yeah, that's a really easy saddler. Sweet. See if we can get Sentry to clear their board. While we just start spitting out sheep every turn. It will not clear their board. They go for 0 attacks, and we pass from there. Calamity, that can kill somebody out of nowhere. Making 2 copies of whatever they choose. Oh, speaking of things that can kill somebody out of nowhere, Trample can do so as well. If I attack with everybody, they go block here, take 3. So I can't kill them this turn, but next turn off of Trample I certainly can. If I attack with everybody, they could chump block Bighorn, kill the Sentry for free, take 3. Oops. Well, so much for that. That was the wrong clicks. I was going to say, I think it's probably worth attacking with Bighorn saddled and sending the whole board in so they can't just like double block kill Bighorn. Obviously if I tap Bighorn, then no attacks are worth it there. Oh, that's a good draw. Throw from the saddle, so no Grizzly swing. And the Bighorn's too small to attack into Calamity now. Dang. Erings is a less good draw. It's fine. Yeah, I mean, they've stabilized here. They have turned it entirely into a top deck war. Who can hit the biggest and bestest cards? Ooh, it might be us. If they can't kill the Griff, that should kill them really quickly. The start was rocky, but the Griff is an incredible draw. Just a land from our opponent. Oh my god, and Miriam too? Okay, so saddle, and it's probably lethal. Yeah, there's the concession. We are now 6-1, firmly in the money, heading into the final battle, our shot at a 7-win trophy run with 2 rounds in the chamber. Alright, here we are on the draw for the final battle. We've got a steed turn 2, and hopefully they can't kill it, because that is kind of all we've got for now. We are drawn into some beef. That's a giant beaver for turn 4, a couple turns after the steed. Playing against Jund, those are some removal heavy colors. I am not going to be able to saddle up the steed quickly here, so I think I would rather play steed turn 3 to dodge removal for a turn, and then just get a guaranteed attack in with Homestead next turn. Oh no. Well, steed is a mount, so we do have a big steer clear if they try to block here, which they might. Okay. Alright, well, could have been worse for sure. They could have had tapped desert into untapped desert Greenblade and had a 5 toughness Greenblade immediately. So at least we got to clear that out before it got too insane. Ooh, a plot. Spinewoods Paladin for some life gain and stuff. Alright. I need to saddle 4 for the steed. I can actually do that, though, because I can full control mode, supplier, crew, homestead. Oh, I can't do that? I thought I would have an ability to crew with the supplier in response to this before I choose my target. I guess I can't. Never mind. Well, this is still great attacks. My goal was to crew the homestead with supplier, to put a counter on it with supplier, to then saddle that to the steed. But I guess you have to choose the target to supplier before you get to do any other instant speed things. Oh god, that thing is terrifying. Vigilance, Trample, Haste. When it dies, get a bunch of treasures. It's somewhat decent to have exile removal in hand right now, I would say. Somewhat decent. Is there a reason to crew homestead? Not really. It's not gonna send it. Yeah, no. Hold up the homestead on blocks, I guess. I mean, I guess if I really wanted to make an angel, then yeah, I'd probably just tap supplier and tumblewag. Because even if I crewed the homestead with tumblewag, I'd still have to tap supplier and homestead to saddle the steed. If steed is somehow still around next turn, I'll definitely saddle up the beaver. We'll have a giant beaver riding the unicorn again. Alright, well here we are. I guess we're gonna have a giant beaver riding the unicorn unless we draw something great off of Frontier Seeker. We did draw something very solid, but I think I'm still on beaver time. Saddle up. Homestead up. Combat. Buff homestead. Get in there. Get an angel. Hit a non-land, so no land from homestead, but still an excellent turn. We clear the paladin out of the way. Maybe. Nope, fake your own death. That's very good here. Probably not good enough, but they gain more life and they keep the paladin around. They've got a treasure token if they're trying to splash into some kind of board wipe. Betrayal at the Vault, 2 removal spells on 1 card is really nice, but Throw from the Saddle is well over lethal. That is going to end the final battle. I think I technically should play Bighorn and saddle Tumblewag with Bighorn to then put another counter on Beaver and attack with all and then double the Beaver counters. That's maximum damage, but it's already lethal on board, so our opponent goes ahead and scoops them up there. We are officially 7-1. I think this is the most, well, maybe not, because we've had some really bomb-heavy decks with tons of super powerful rares and mythics. We might have had some decks with slightly better bomb rares in the past, but I still think this is the best deck we've drafted so far because the core strategy is also really consistent and powerful. I think green-white mounts is easily one of the best archetypes in the format, if not the best archetype. I think its uncommons are honestly on par with a lot of bomb rares, like Miriam in particular. But the Congregation Gryph as well, when you have enough mounts in the deck, is really good. And not only are we a really powerful archetype with tons of mount synergies and stuff, but we still have tons of bomb rares like we've had in our other strong decks. We have the Tumblewag, we have Bill, And we have the Seraphic Steed. So super powerful, super fun deck today. Just gets a clean 7-1 run. Pretty easy time making it into a full trophy run out of this deck. Now we get to grab 2,200 gems, 6 packs of Outlaws of Thunder Junction, and that's going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and are interested in seeing more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.